welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we have wonderful Frida. So, Frida, do you mind telling us a little bit about yourself?
So my name is Frida Aduno. I'm from Uganda. Currently, I'm a teacher by profession, and I am currently pursuing a master's in inclusive education at the University of Bristol,
Oh, wow.
and I'm a Chevening scholar.
That's wonderful. So we have this video to kind of give tips to Chevening prospective scholars that will be applying for this year. So if you want to know how to write your essay, please stay tuned. So take the floor.
Okay, so I'm honored to take this moment to just share my experience. Disclaimer, like they always say, these are just my views and my experience through the application process. I'll be just taking you and giving you a little bit of some of the tips that I used to write my essays, especially the leadership essay, which is usually the first essay, and then the networking essay. So, usually the first question you're expected to describe your leadership and influencing skills. The first tip that I would give you for this particular essay, you have to think and reflect, what does leadership mean to you? Once you get that, what leadership means to you, use that particular definition basing on your experience as a leader, how you've impacted, how you've influenced, how you've contributed to your community, to your respective profession, or better yet, your basically your jurisdiction. So you have to be passionate in this particular essay. It's the very first essay, and you have to make an impression. It's the essay that will either move you forward or trash you out of the line. So you have to be really, really very passionate, and very, you have to impress the judges or the assessment.
Okay, so Frida, do you mind giving us like an example of what you wrote and that you might have thought maybe like the first sentence of leadership, how you defined it, and something that maybe you did that caught the community attention?
Okay, so I'll just read to you. So for me, I introduced my, in just two sentences, I described what leadership means to me. And for me, leadership was getting out of my comfort zone to be able to create impact. And then my story or my examples were in line with me getting out of my comfort zone. I gave about three examples.
Oh, wow.
And the first example that I gave, I was a secondary teacher, and I moved from town, a very well-paying job, and decided to volunteer in the most remotest village
Wow.
to teach as a primary teacher. So that was
Wow.
like my turning point. In a way, it was very stressful, but that was me getting out of my comfort zone, leaving the city and getting to the remotest, no electricity, no internet.
Wow.
So that was my first example. And my second example was still in line with that. So when you're describing your leadership and influencing essay, you have to think of the star approach. The star approach, in your examples, you have to be looking at the star. The S stands for the situation. What was the situation? What was the task? That is the T. And what was the actions that you took, or the action that you took, and what was the result? So in my situation, me getting out of my comfort zone, my situation, when I got into the village, there was a problem of enrollment. There were very, very few children. In my class, I only had 4 children. I was very excited. I'm moving to a new place. I'm excited at lesson planned as a teacher. You're very excited to meet the children, and only 4 children are in your class. And this is a UPE. In Uganda, you call it UPE, where
Oh,
education,
universal basic education. It's the same with
yes,
Nigeria.
education is free of charge.
Yeah.
All the child has to do is come with a pen and pencil, but there were no children. And this was the only rural community school serving about 4 villages. So I wondered, where were the children? So the children were basically home in farms and just doing their own things, and they didn't value education. So that was the situation I found. And as a leader, I needed to bring the children to school. What was I supposed to do? Now that's when I go into my actions. What did I do? So I describe what I did to be able to bring the children to school, and then what what the STAR approach, what
Yeah.
tasks,
Yeah.
what
Actually.
actions I took, and then later the
The
result.
result.
At the end of my fellowship program at 2 years placement in that very community, the enrollment had improved and increased to about 315
Wow.
children in the school from 27 in the entire school. So that
Wow.
was me getting out of my comfort zone. If probably I don't move to this rural community, who knows, maybe those 27 children would be the only ones that complete through the phase
Wow.
of
So,
school in this particular community.
yeah.
So look at the STAR approach. What was the situation? What was the task? What actions did you take, and what was the result? And then give numbers. It's very, very
Yeah.
important for you to give your numbers, and don't just give general numbers like 300, 110. Make sure the numbers, because make sure the numbers are believable. Not really believable, you have to have your numbers right. You have to have your statistics right. If you don't have your statistics right, it also becomes a problem, because everything you say or everything you write has to be backed up. For me, everything that I wrote, when you actually go on a Google search, you find everything, because either there's an article written about it or there's a story told about
Wow.
it. So it has to be, you have to be real. You have to really be real. Don't lie, just be real.
Okay, so
Yeah.
did you bring any statistics, speaking of statistics and numbers, did you bring any statistics out of, like, they're not the one that you saw in the community? Like, did you research, like, oh, this is the number of out of school children in Uganda, these are the number of literate children in Uganda? Did you bring, like, outside statistics or other people's research?
Yes, yes, you can actually, you're free to quote some statistics, like general statistics of the situation in your country. For
Okay.
example, the education situation, like the number of dropouts, the number of children who read and write
Mm.
in Uganda, for example, for myself. So you're free to quote that, but don't quote a lot, just one or two quotations,
Quotations.
because you're telling your story. So you're not telling the story of the entire
Country.
country.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and also another tip with your leadership essay, do not forget to conclude. After you've written your introduction, you've described what leadership means to you. You've maybe say leadership is empathy for me, maybe leadership is maybe creating solutions, and you've given your examples. Do not forget to wrap up. It's like sealing your, basically wrapping up
Yeah.
your gift. It
Yeah.
also creates a lot of impression and gives a great, well, you stand out when you conclude right. You have to show how much this means to you. You've described everything you're saying, so what? You have to conclude. For example, I'll give you my conclusion, very brief, but you have to really show, yes, this is what I mean. For example, I said, I believe that a master's degree from a reputable university like Bristol
Yep. Ivy League.
will enable me to influence even more people while creating tremendous change in the education system in my country. So you wrap it and seal it up and leave them wanting more. So by the time they move on to the next essay, they're already impressed and they're shaking their heads. They're like, okay, this is the kind of person we want.
Wow, this is wonderful. This is wonderful. I didn't even know this about her. Okay, so the next question was networking, right?
Yes, so the next question is about networking,
Mm-hmm.
because chevening is mainly about leadership, networking, because if you're going to create impact in your communities, you can't stand alone. You need a network of people, you need a connection, you need a community to create this impact. So the next question is on networking. So for me, I basically did my networking essay in line with my leadership essay, but you don't have to necessarily give the examples that you gave in your leadership essay in your networking essay, but you can somehow connect them, and that's what I did. I created some sort of chronology. So I still defined in my introduction, I defined what networking means to me. It's also very important. It's like your introduction. You're going to talk about networking. What does it mean to you? So for me, networking for me meant creating relationships, creating and building relationships, and being able to maintain them, because sometimes we create relationships and then we just meet people, and then but maintaining those relationships becomes very, very difficult. So for me, it meant creating relationships and being able to maintain those relationships, both personal and professional. And then I gave examples. Still, you have to use the STAR approach: the situation, the task, the action, and then the result.
Results.
Chevening is so bent on the star approach. Basically, it also helps you with the flow of the story. If you're talking about something, you don't want to start with the result and then come down to the task, and then you're talking about the action.
Yeah.
I believe all of us have done English in school, so they tell you you have an introduction, the body, and conclusion.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. You have to use the star approach. What was the situation? What was the task, action, and the result? So I gave my example. Still, I gave about 3 examples in my networking essay how I have created and maintained relationships. So give all ways you have created your relationships, how you have maintained, how you have basically connected. So I'll give an example of my particular essay. So I spoke of still leaving the city and coming to the village. I was all alone. I remember being just alone. You're in the village. I didn't speak the language in this particular community. So there was a problem of language barrier. There's a problem of you just being alone. Basically like being in the UK. But now, you know, we have already created a lot of relationships. So it's the same thing. It was the same thing for me. So I gave that kind of situation. And then I was like, I gave the actions that I took because I was all alone. I needed a community to belong, a community that will make me feel, yes, I belong in this place. So during my entire time there, it would be easy for me. So I spoke about how I went visiting families. Remember, my situation or the problem was children were not in school. So visiting families in a way was me creating relationships, but in a way also encouraging them to send their children to school. So I connected these 2 situations together. So I built a network of parents, they're called local councils. I don't know how you call them. Yes, community leaders. I don't know how you call them in Nigeria, but like the community leaders, local council leaders. So I created relationships with them, plus the teachers in the school. So I already had a network of so many people already. So every time I had a problem, every time there was a challenge that needed to be solved, this was my first community. These were my first professional group of people that I would contact, that I would reach out to, share some ideas. I was just coming from secondary school, moving to primary school. I didn't have any sort of experience. So reaching out to the teachers, the colleagues in the staff room, sometimes it's very difficult, or sometimes as youth, you find yourself, okay, I don't know if you have the incoming girl on the block. I'm not going to associate myself with maybe like old people, or they won't understand me. So that becomes a problem. But I connected with them so easily, learning from them, teaching them some things, and that is how my entire networking essay was, just me telling the whole story of how I was in this community, the networks I created, and through those networks, especially with the teachers also, I was able to write actually a research paper and support them to integrate ICT into their teaching. And remember, this was a village without internet, with very unstable network, no electricity, but using just my simple smartphone. And that is why that is where the leadership now came in. You just have your smartphone, but you use your smartphone to be able to teach a teacher that, okay, by the way, you can just go to Google. Some teachers didn't know about Google. You just go search about this, and then you find a lot of information, do your research, put it in your lesson plan, and go to class and teach the children. Instead of just using a textbook, the children need like something different. So through that, I did my research, and I was able to present the research project in a very big conference. And still, when I went to the conference, I created another group of, community of more like-minded people. And you also have to describe how you are maintaining these relationships. Remember, you're creating all these relationships, but how are you maintaining them? So you have to point out how you are maintaining them, maybe through emails. You're keeping in touch through social media, or maybe you're just having like physical physical chats, besides being, all the time
Yeah.
professional,
Yeah.
maybe just like, let's grab
Yeah.
some tea, or let's take a walk to the well, like for
Yeah.
my case in the village, let's go to the well together with the teachers. And that was building relationships. And yeah, I think for the networking essay, you
Mhm.
just have to describe how you've created those relationships, those networks, and identify every angle of, using examples, identify how you've created those relationships and how you network, how you build those relationships, but tie it to your definition, what networking means to you. And do not forget to conclude by saying how you need this opportunity, how you need the scholarship, because Chevening is a very big platform for you to network with so many
Yes.
people. Like here
Yes.
at Bristol, we are about 35 scholars.
It's
So
totally different from Commonwealth share. Like, I'm so jealous. You guys, there are a lot here in Bristol. They have like their picnics. I'm like,
so you see, now I've created a community here in Bristol with people from all over the world, and these are relationships, these are connections
yeah.
that will stand out for the
Forever.
rest of our lives. It just doesn't end here. So you have to show why this means so much to you.
Okay, so Frida, I'm gonna ask you something about the networking, because I know that in my Telegram group someone stated something. So from what I'm seeing is like many people love to mention name drop.
Mm.
Like when they're writing their networking skills or their network essay,
Yeah.
most of them love to name drop. Oh, I met Osama bin Laden. Oh, I met Obama. Oh, I met this. Oh, I met this. Is it so important to actually name drop? Or is it like the little ones, like meeting your community leaders, or I don't know if you understand where I'm coming from, or just even making friends around the community and this friend helping you? I don't know if you understand. Is it that Chevening is interested in is it how much impact this network was able to make, or rather how much I don't know how to explain it, but I hope you get
It's
it.
more about the impact.
Okay.
The impact of the relationship. You have to be intentional. Yes, you're going to meet so many people. It's okay to meet so many people, and we have all met so many people, but you have to choose which connection are you going to talk about. The connection has to be relevant. It has to make sense. It has to show that, okay, this particular connection led somewhere. Remember the star approach. This particular connection led to something, or it yielded something. If it didn't, or if it's just you being a little bit fancy, okay, I met Barack Obama. What did you do with Barack Obama? What did that connection do to you? Or what did that connection help you with? Or how did you help? And it has to be a two-way. It doesn't have to only be that the connections I make help
Yeah.
me. It has to be a two-way. You also have
Oh.
to impact the people you meet. So
Oh.
it doesn't have to only be, you have to give both examples, how these connections have impacted your work, impacted you as an individual,
Oh.
and how you have
Okay.
also impacted them. And yes.
Okay, I have a question. I know someone that is going to apply for Chevening, and he runs like this literacy program in Kaduna. Now, for example, if he has been running these literacy programs, so he networked to get an organization to support this. Is that a good example to support children reading?
Yes, that is actually a very excellent one. That is
Okay.
one of that would really stand out, because he met these people,
Yeah.
and these people helped him,
Yeah.
and is now impacting a lot of children.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of
Examples.
examples you
Okay.
have to give.
Thank
But don't
you.
also forget to, you have to share the personal and professional. Don't
Professional.
focus on only the
Oh.
professional. Why? Because it's not play. There's also time for fun, because Chevening is giving you an opportunity to explore the UK while studying your dream course.
It's funny because even in my AC, I wrote I'll start a YouTube channel, but I said I'll start a YouTube channel exploring UK. I don't know why I'm this. Okay, so it's wonderful. What other questions did Chevening ask?
So there are two other questions. That is
Okay.
why the UK, but that one is basically
For you,
you.
yeah.
Why
You.
do you want to come to the UK? So it's basically still you sharing
Oh.
your why, and then why Chevening will ask you to choose three courses or three different three courses in three
Different
different
university.
universities, or three courses in one university. So it will be your choice. You can choose, but the courses have to be related. If you choose different courses, say you want to do maybe medicine, and then you want to do education, and then you want to do, say, maybe public health, that is like you're off. It has to be in line with, they have to be related.
And even in line with your essays, right? Because you
Yes,
have been
yeah.
writing about something.
Something, yes.
So
It has to
yeah.
be in line with your essays. It has to be also in line with your fourth essay, which is on your career plan.
Oh.
When you come to the UK, they expect us to go back. We have to go back, because why we are here? We are here to learn, gather enough experience and skills so that we are able to help our
Your
communities
community.
back home,
Yeah.
not just remaining here.
Yeah.
So you have to justify why, what are your plans. You have to be thinking of, what is my immediate plan when I finish? When you finish the course, what are you going to do immediately? What are you going to do 2 years later or 3 years later? And what is your long-term plan? In 10 years, what do you intend to do? And there you have to be strategic, because honestly speaking, from my own experience, I think the leadership essay and then the last essay, the career plan, those are the most important essays. You have to really put in your best. Otherwise, those can make or break you. Why? Because the first one is like the first one, makes an impression. The last one is like, okay, seals the deal. Do we want this person or not? So do we toss him or let him stay?
Okay. So basically, the after plan is your short term goals, your long term, your short term, your middle term goals, and your long
term goals.
Okay.
Yeah. But now in the career essay, you also have to describe the situation in your country. Say maybe you want to pursue maybe a law degree. Look at the justice system in your country, and then you have to connect whatever you want to study, whatever your plans are, in line with the UK priority areas or UK priority, basically, activities. If UK's, of course, UK is having so many priority activities in Africa, in most of our countries, so you have to align them. It has to be aligned, because you don't want to be the other side of the coin, and the side of the coin, you have to be working together.
Yeah. And besides that, I feel like you deep down you know what you want. You know what you want after school. Like, what are you going to do with this master's degree? It's not all about getting the scholarship. What next? So I feel like, yeah, you're right. And then you have to outline it and see the connection with, okay, the UK goals. So Frida, thank you for this. Do you have any lasting tips for everyone that is gonna apply? Do you have anything that you need to say that maybe I didn't ask?
Oh, well, tell your story passionately. Just let your passion flow. Don't just give it your best. Make it like, okay, this is what I want and I deserve it. Don't self-reject. Sometimes we self-reject ourselves. You're like, okay, maybe Frida has spoken about her experience in the village. I've never been to the village. No, do not self-reject yourself. Just put in a good application. Put in your best. Just put in your best. Don't just wake up and, okay, let me just do it for doing it. No, that will, of course, that will not, work. Just put in your best and make sure, let your passion shine. At the end of the day, it's not about being the best of the best, but be passionate, because passion sells it. As a leader, you don't have to be like, say, maybe Barack Obama, or maybe like very outspoken, or I don't know, but you just have to be passionate and show, okay, this is me, and this is me leading in my own capacity, because I believe we are all leaders.
Speaking of self-reject, I have so many people saying, oh, well, Chevening accepts me, I'm not a first class, I'm not this, I'm not that. I feel like, I don't know if you want to throw some light, but I feel like with Chevening, with the way you have spoken about the essay, it's not your degree. It's more on the impact, what you're going to impact the society with. I think as long as your degree can get you into a UK master's degree, can accept you into a UK master's degree, then you're fine. I'm not sure. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, this is just my view or my opinion. I think Chevening is mostly, they actually write on their website, it's number one, it's not a charity, it's scholarship. Well, you just have to get the right grades to get into the university. If you have the right grades to get into the university, then you're good to apply for the Chevening scholarship, because now you're basically eligible. It's
Yeah.
not about, it's not like the Commonwealth, the merit where you have to have a
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
class, or like,
Yeah.
yeah, strong first class. As
Yeah.
long as you have a good degree,
Yeah.
you're good to go.
Yeah, and I even also noticed that like this scholarship is quite different because you're not applying to the school first. You're applying to Chevening, and then later on they'll give a time frame for you to apply to the universities. So take your time.
Yeah.
Don't just self reject. Take your time, write your essays, and hope for the best. I wish you all
All the
great
best.
things and
Yeah.
all the best.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Frida. Thank you so much, guys. I'm so
Okay.
grateful. Thank you so much, Frida, for answering our questions. So hopefully you guys have a better understanding, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and all those things. Bye.